Hi, I'm Rowe-Isrealson. I'm here with Bavin, and what we would like to do is to discuss our virtual demo for the G.A.S virtual 2021. And what we're trying to show you today is how you can create um, to to present different mold materials to then kiln cast and then bring those cast pieces to the hot shop. So what we're going to be showing you today is just some mold mix components that we have worked on. So you can either work very large with mold mix 6 from zircon refractory composites, or you can work very small, taking these particular multiple pieces to the hot shop, allowing you to be able to blow out your pieces or to make your vision a reality.
Alrighty, Leslie, let's have a look at some of the stuff you're using here for what we're doing.
My twin sister and I have Melanie Rowe. We've worked with zircon refractory composites for, almost 30 some years now. We met Tom Hamling at Pilchuck Glass School, and he introduced us with Phil Teefy to Mold Mix 6, and we've just never looked back. It's the most incredible product. To be able to make components, either one of a kind or multiples. And the beauty with Mold Mix 6 is that I'm not as strong as I wish I was anymore, and I can't lift. If this was all done in plaster or silica, I wouldn't be able to lift it. But when I burn this mold out, get the wax out, I'll be able to hold it with my fingertips. That's how light it is. It's the most incredible product, and it also anneals better because there's not all that particular mold material around the piece as it's annealing and cooling down. So Mold Mix 6 is a product that you actually paint on with a brush and onto your wax. But before that, you have to prepare the wax. And with that, I use universal spray release, spray the wax. Once that wax is sprayed, then I paint on the Mold Mix 6. And Mold Mix 6 now comes in a powder form. I prefer to use the already pre-mixed just because I don't want, perhaps the particles floating in the air because my studio is small. And so at this particular point in time, you can see the difference in multiples that you can use with Mold Mix 6, which allows us to make the feathers for the top of whatever creation you're making. So this also was cast in Mold Mix 6, this large piece that will be the part of the roll-up, which I'll do at another time. And basically, once you've fired your molds out, burned out the wax, now you have your molds that will be multiple use, hundreds of times you can use these. I will spray what's called boron nitride on the Mold Mix 6. That is my separator from the glass. So for the wax, it's the universal spray release. And you really should use the universal spray release on your wax. For once you've got your mold, the separator is the boron nitride. And every time you use it, you respray. So that will, multiple times you can use it. Same as the zircon containment molds. But I also, on the zircon containment molds, use kiln wash as well. So kiln wash, a little bit of boron nitride, and because it doesn't thermal shock, because the glass shrinks at 5% or something, these just pull right off your glass, and then you've got these huge blocks of glass that you can then saw up and use for your creative spirit. There we go. So I've made basically 2 cast vessel forms in these molds. Very important to put 2 clear bases underneath your cast slices. And that gives you the thickness that you'll need to be able to blow that out in the hot shop. Once
And
you've
so then those clear bases, they're just layers of glass.
layers of glass that will be inside. So we'll be picking this particular piece up in with the clear inside.
Yeah.
So when we slump these, so I'll flat fire them, then I'll slump them, and then I take those vessel forms to the hot shop, and we literally, and you have to make sure that you put a hole in one of the vessels. Otherwise, you have nowhere to
Pick up on the blowpipe.
pick up on the blowpipe.
And so with that, we're basically doing an encalmo pickup,
Okay.
which is a classic Italian technique, picking up 2 different
Yes.
sides. And that just allows us to create a bubble without picking up, because we can't use any of the furnace glass and we can't gather more glass because we're using the bullseye, which is incompatible with the furnace glass at the hot shop. Then having the 2 separate sides put together, it gives us the ability to have more volume of glass.
Yes.
And it works really well. And so that's, is that like about a 10-inch diameter
It's a
mold?
10-inch diameter, and the reason I chose the 10-inch diameter is because not of the restrictions in the hot shop, but the glory hole will allow us to put a 10-inch round diameter
piece
into the
it.
glory hole.
Yeah, it's not a very large glory hole. It's only about a 16-inch glory hole. But it works quite well.
It does.
And and that clear on the inside it's almost like thinking of when we're blowing glass, doing an overlay color. So it's quite a bit of clear, and a clear gives the consistency to the bullseye, all the other colors when we're blowing it out. It makes it so that some of the colors don't want to take off when
That's right.
when we're blowing them out, just because of differences in temperature. The clear gives some stability overall to the entire piece as we're blowing it out, and it makes it a little bit more even when we blow it out.
Yeah. Plus, it gives you volume,
Yeah.
which is wonderful, and on the inside too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I like to put the clear. Some people put the clear on the outside, but
Yeah.
I like to put the clear on the inside so that you get some nice definition of all your different little stringers and color bars, and I think it gives you, some clarity to the outside of the piece.
Well, and also some consistency in the color application between the blown parts, like in this vessel.
Yes.
The blown parts color on the surface, whereas the more sculptural and decorative part of things, where it is all colored bullseye.
Exactly.
Then, you don't have a variation in surface kind of color and texture and feel and stuff like that.
Interesting for blowing out bullseye, Ryan. Do you find that it's a little bit soupy and then it stiffens up, or it's quite different than blowing glass, isn't it, to work with?
Yeah, typically we've been working lately with Boma Collet from the Czech Republic, and it's more designed as a blowing glass around the 96 COE, and it's a longer glass than bullseye,
Right.
which is more designed for kiln work and casting and stuff like that. So it's different to work with, but it's not out of the realm of possibility by any means. It still is glass. It's still, you can blow it. There's a bit of difference in the timing and of course annealing schedules and all that kind of stuff. We're always,
So Ryan has been helping me for quite a few years now, and he's extremely good at understanding how the glass works. So, I'm very fortunate to be able to work with you.
Well, and it's fun to do these collaborations. That kind of takes me out of my comfort zone as
Right.
well, because it's you never know, where it's going to lead, basically.
No, so it's, it's coming up with the vision, the visual, what you want to achieve, and then taking it to the hot shop. And yes, things change sometimes when you get there,
Yeah, oh,
but that's
definitely.
okay too. So
Part of
you
the
just
learning
flow with
process.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For
Yeah.
sure. And especially since here we're quite a long ways from a lot of places, all having to do with glass. Anyways, I guess Calgary is our closest
Yes.
kind of
Alberta College
educational.
Art,
Yeah,
Red Deer College.
yeah. So it's, I mean, yeah, we're, kind of out on our own out here, which is kind of interesting and exciting. We kind of get influenced sometimes in ways that you might not get influenced collectively in larger centers for glass. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's always exciting, I know, to go to Seattle or go to Pilchuck or
Oh,
go to, different places, different, yeah, places where there's congregations of glass people, and I super enjoy being able to go and talk shop with people.
I
like,
know. And then sometimes if you're just in your own little studio, you have all these ideas in your head.
Yeah.
And to be able to have the technical background that allows you then to actually be able to create your vision.
Right.
That's kind of what we're hoping to be able to share a little bit today too, is, with having a small glass studio, kiln fusing and kiln casting, to be able to take that vision to the hot shop is a real blessing. So
Yeah. No,
but-
and it's super fun. I think it's,
yeah.
yeah, we may as well take advantage of it, just because why not? Eh? So,
Exactly. So, for when we head over to the hot shop, which we will do very shortly,
yes.
with the idea of the title of our talk, I think we have presented a really good basis for how to take it to the blowing portion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think
From the kiln to the hot shop.
that's right.
The
And I guess,
hatching of ideas.
from me, not having done much work with molds or anything like that, a lot of your work is done with the lost wax process.
It is, with the Molmix 6 from Zircar Refractory Composites, allows me to be able to kiln cast a whole bunch of little bit parts that I
Right.
can then bring with me.
Yep.
So I've actually pretty much done a lot of the work before we get to the hot shop.
Definitely.
And then Ryan, with his brilliance, can assist me in making those.
Making stuff. I mean, yeah.
Making the
And
pieces
you've also
come to
used
vision.
a vitrograph.
This is a vitrograph that I pull in
Yeah.
my little kiln.
Making
That
some-
gives all the little bits and pieces, and it also, what I love the idea of with the hatching of ideas is fusing the stringers and then bringing the vitrograph in to bring the two pieces together, trying to give you the idea of a nest.
Right.
So nesting. So the hatching of ideas, which is our discussion today, is basically what this piece is all about.
Right.
So birds are probably the most beautiful little creatures on the planet. They are so fragile, but they're so strong to fly halfway across the world and then all the way back again. And same with glass. The strength and the fragility of the glass is what I was trying to present as well. So,
Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
That's good. Awesome. Well, off to the hot shop.
Off to the hot shop. We'll see you there.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Bavin, and Bavin Glassworks up in Invermere, BC, and welcome to the studio, or my studio. And yeah, I'm here today with Leslie.
My name is Leslie Rowe-Isrealson, and I have worked in glass for about 40 years, probably before you were even born.
Yeah.
But yeah, my twin sister and I have enjoyed many things in our life, and especially being glass artists together. So, from being at Pilchuck Glass School, Ryan was pole turner for how many years?
I was a pole turner for, I guess, 3 years.
3 years.
2 years as a gaffer.
Yeah,
for
my
that.
twin sister and I were fortunate enough to be able to have taught there twice and had a few residencies, which was probably gave us the opportunity to do a lot of experimenting. So, and that brought us into the hot shop and going from kiln casting to hot casting and then the hot shop. So we feel very blessed, feel very thankful for Ryan for being a team.
Yeah, and luckily we both live in the same town here
I
in
know.
Revere, BC.
Yeah, and really.
Yeah. All right. So here we are in the hot shop, getting things rolling. I've picked up some bullseye clear and made a collar on the blowpipe, and we're picking up the first piece with the hole in it, of course, so that we'll be able to blow through.
That has been pre-slumped.
Yep.
And pre-ground. The edges have to be ground too.
Yeah.
So make sure that it's nice and flat
Totally.
around the edges.
And we brought things up we're picking things up at 570 degrees Celsius. I'll figure out what the Fahrenheit is there and post it. And they were ramped up at 35 degrees per hour. So these came up over a period of about 14 hours to get them up to temperature.
And the reason we did that also is because there's some thick cast pieces in there
Yes.
as well that you don't want to blow up and have them hit other pieces that are in the annealer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So brushing off
yeah.
the kiln wash
Yep.
on the edge.
Yep. And then here we are, got things heated up, not too hot, of course, but just hot enough to do basically an encalmo pickup and wiggling around there and make sure it's all stuck together.
Yep, both sides.
Went straight into the glory hole on this one, and we'll kind of brush off the bottom after just a few seconds in there to make sure we have the temperature up. And yeah.
Almost looks like a flying saucer at the moment, but
Yeah,
it won't.
definitely. But yeah, just like that, now we have a good sized vessel on the blowpipe, and
10 inches.
yeah, 10-inch
10 inches.
diameter. And on average, how thick do you think these pieces were? Like maybe an inch or?
No, only about not even 3/4 of an inch, 5/8 perhaps.
5/8, okay.
Yeah, of an inch.
And then we blew it out from here. Well, as we get into it, we'll be blowing it out more. Here, just you can see me capping the end of the blowpipe as I'm marvering, just doing the sealing up the encalmo attachment, just to make sure everything is well sealed together and set up. Yeah,
A little bit of
testing
air
the
in
seal with the blowing. And
there.
yeah.
The nice thing with this, so know your hot shop, know your glass blower that you're working with, feel comfortable,
Yeah.
and make sure that your piece is going to fit into the glory hole.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
very important. So
Yeah.
so with Ryan's studio, that's why we've come up with this
Particular
specific
size, yeah.
technique.
Yeah.
Is so that we can go a little bit bigger as opposed to roll up.
Yeah.
This particular technique
We
allows
can
us to
get a little bit bigger. Then we could try to
Mhm.
do a roll up. And yeah, and that's just the nature because we only have like a 16-inch glory hole. And
which is great. That's why it gives, that's why we're here to share with you that, it's if you have, perhaps maybe a smaller glory hole, you can still go fairly substantial with the blowout.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. It's it's super exciting to kind of be playing around and especially with a totally different type of glass. This, of course, this is all bullseye, and it's quite a bit different to work with than a regular blowing glass like Boma or spruce pine or something like that. But yeah, still works good. And for our purposes, we did a bit with the System 96 back in the day.
We did,
and found that we liked the bullseye for
the clarity.
The clarity of color. I think when we blew out the spectrum, there was something different at the bullseye. When we blow it out, it seems.
And we did gather over the 96.
Yes, we did.
We did. So with using the bullseye with the colors on the outside, it gives you a little more crisper. So what Ryan and I just did there was we had pre-fused some stringers.
Yep.
We're trying to make it look like a nest, to give you the impression of a nest. So by pre-firing the overlay, it gave us some control.
Yeah, and actually, that piece wasn't preheated or anything. We just used the big fluffy torch and just worked it right onto the piece. Yeah, it worked great.
So and with the vitrograph, with the joining of the Uncomo pieces, the reason I put the little vitrograph bits on the outside was so that joining those color bars, I didn't want to have a line where you're not going to be able. It's like a seamstress. You need to match up those seams.
Yeah.
But with this particular idea, with the vitrograph, you have more control over those joining and not having a insightly join line.
Right. Yeah, having it kind of blend as opposed to having the stark difference, which is normally associated with the Uncomo technique.
Which you love.
Yeah, no, for me, I mean, and this is fascinating because when we went in, we needed to line things up. And so to kind of keep the line straight and all that kind of stuff. And it actually worked out really well, even though it was,
There's Tina.
Yeah, there's Tina.
Hi, Tina.
And here we're getting ready to punty. And of course, the punty is all made with some scraps from Leslie's studio that we just melt onto the end of the punty and shape up. And so that we're guaranteeing that we're not getting any contamination. Yes.
We both said the word.
Yeah.
Don't contaminate.
Yeah. And so we actually pre-made the punty and just had it in the pipe warmer, and then had to tune it up a little bit before coming in and doing the actual punty. So it's quite a colorful punty, actually.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. And and we kept the collar. We kept that blowpipe and kept the collar for more pieces down the road. And
for picking up the feathers. So Tina was kind enough to come and assist us with picking up those feathers as well, because Ryan was on the bench. I was over at the annealer.
And through some of our blowing techniques, we kind of used the pickup oven, which is actually a fusing kiln, as almost like a garage where we kind of keep things preheated and we can get things from there into the glory hole quick enough that we don't have any cracking.
So when you're preparing to do this, make sure that you understand where all the bits and parts go into the annealer.
Yep.
Or into the
I took a photo the night before. I was setting everything up and had a photo so that we could really know exactly where all the pieces and parts in the pickup oven were, and kind of coordinate that.
Because you need to be able to get those big pieces out without hitting any of the feathers, or and plus you have to know which components, and in this case it's our feathers, which components go on the bottom and which go on the top.
Yeah, so have the sequences all set up and organized and everything.
A lot of pre-thinking.
Definitely. But it makes everything go smoothly once you get into the process. It
does. Yeah.
So, just was measuring up the size of the opening there so that when we put the lid on, it has a stem basically that will hold it steady in the inside of the vessel, and so it's not going to move anywhere on us. So just measuring that up for the next part of the process, which would be making the lid of the vessel.
And the beauty of working with Ryan is that Ryan does these amazing fish pieces, so he's totally used to adding components and
Yep.
working with small, large, thick, thin. So it's
Different parts and pieces.
A
And
lot of years of hard work on Ryan's end.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of part of the deal, and it's exciting for me to be able to do this type of work that takes me outside of my boundaries. Here we are talking things through a little bit as to how it's looking and double checking the the whole diameter, because we don't have to do cold working to either increase the size of the hole or adjust the stem from the lid or anything like that.
Yeah, so we're planning actually for the lid, because
Yeah.
you need a little bit of weight inside the vessel when the feathers sit on top, and the cap, you don't want it to fall off.
Yes.
So what we decided was to make almost like a thick
stem. I don't
stem.
know.
Thanks.
That's all I can
Me too.
figure out how to call it. But
Me too.
but
The stem that goes inside the vessel to stabilize the cap.
Yeah.
So.
And also blowing this out, we kind of made sure that there's still quite a bit of volume of glass in the bottom just to give it a good stability. And here we are taking a piece off and
Flattening the bottom.
Yeah. Torching things up.
Here's my daughter, Kate.
Oh, yeah.
Our photographer.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a team. It's all about the team.
Yeah, there's Tina putting a piece away. Shauna over in the corner organizing her online store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pat's pieces. Ryan's
Oh,
father is a beautiful painter.
Yeah.
As well as a glass artist.
Yeah, he's who I learned from, I guess. But so here we are starting the next piece, the lid, and just picking up. This would be like a square chunk of glass, bullseye that Leslie has done from casting and cutting in her studio, and we'll just work in here on making it round.
Yep, this is our plug. This is our...
Yeah, exactly. The plug, that's probably a better way to call it. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. These pieces could almost be used as canoptic vases at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're pretty sealed by the time you put that cap on.
Yeah, no, it's true. More measuring. This is the measure. I had to transfer the inside measurement to an outside measurement to then make sure that we're within the tolerances there, that everything's going to work.
It's going to
fit
fit in
together.
the hole at the top of the piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if we really had to, we could do some cold working to adjust sizes and stuff, because we were working on pretty tight tolerances to make sure everything fit really well.
Just nice not to have to cold work.
No, if we don't have to.
If you don't have to, you don't necessarily want to at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy cold working as much as the next person, but...
I actually do too. At Pilchuck Glass School, I would sit in the cold working studio
when
for
you got all the tools.
Days. My dream of going back there someday. Yeah.
Checking, what is it? Measure 3 times and cut once is the old carpenter's thing.
How it goes?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to.
There's, I think, the third measurement. Yeah.
Yeah. There's number 3. Maybe there was 4.
Yeah, could have been. Double checking.
Yeah.
Because.
So next we're going to pick up the cap.
Yep.
Yep. That also is pre-fused, but not thick.
No,
that
not thick.
cap is only about 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
The same thickness as the feathers.
Okay. Yeah, here we are. I'm trying to make sure that I get it very well centered.
Yep.
It's part of the trick. Yeah. And yeah, warming things up. Of course, we don't want to get it too hot. And at this point, the glory hole is actually not super hot, probably only about 1800, 1900 degrees. And yeah.
There's Tina going to pick up the first feather.
Yeah. And so we're coordinating here on, oh yeah, there I go, over to the furnace to get a little flash. Well, Tina's kind of got priority there with that feather. Yeah, just kind of getting coordinated here on our timing. I'll probably come out and use the oxypropane torch, a little Ranger torch here to preheat the lid. And yeah, Tina's coming over.
And make sure you remember, which side is up on your attachments,
Yes.
on your little bit parts.
Yep.
First, second, third feather.
Yep. Picking things up.
Yep.
Organizing, actually, the setup of how you're organizing everything in the kiln that you're preheating everything in is quite important.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. Here we go.
We're ready.
Yeah.
And I made this one flat. The first one is flat. I did bend the other two.
Right.
So that this gives us a little more play that we can shape and, yeah.
Yeah. So it's pinching things here. Tina gives a punty a tap.
And keeps that punty for the next one.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's not as simple as just going and get another gather of glass. So.
No.
So yeah, and in between, just keeping temperatures balanced between everything. Now that we get some different thicker and thinner elements going, yeah, probably more regular trips to the glory hole, just like flashes, without deep heats or anything like that, is kind of where it's at.
So Tina's heating up the punty to pick up another feather because there's going to be 3 applied here.
Yep. I think we're just discussing that right there. 2 more to go, and getting our timing kind of semi-organized so that, yeah, Tina's...
I'm pointing.
Yeah, making sure we're in the right sequence.
Number 2.
Yeah, paying attention to what's happening.
And when they're curved, when you've already slumped the feathers, they're not as wide. So make sure if you're adding components that it's gonna fit in the glory hole.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be making a trip back. You could
come in sideways-ish, but
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, orienting things and kind of conceptualizing everything as far as how it's all going to come together is important. And so these were to be laid on kind of on 60-degree offsets so that it's kind of cut 3 different ways evenly. So we figure we got it fairly close here. I'm just making sure that things are well attached, and then Tina bonks it off, and then we're on to
number 3.
Number 3, yeah, definitely. And yeah, just making sure. Some of the thinner parts of the feathers were starting to move around a little bit, so it's just a matter of keeping things straight, as well as trying to keep everything straight
and keep the heat in all the little bits.
Yeah, kind of the balanced approach to things here. Yeah. But and then torching on the back end just to kind of keep that, make sure that things aren't getting too cool.
Yeah, because the plug, which Ryan was mentioning, onto that thinner area of the cap is where, if you're going to have a problem, that could be a problem. So you'll notice that he keeps torching that to make sure that, it's all consistent in its temperature.
Yeah, trying to get things, temperatures balanced. All right, there's Tina with the third feather. And... yeah, I try and time it so I get out of the glory hole just as she's going in to kind of flash it and bring it up a bit in temperature. And the timing seemed to work out fairly well for that, to make sure that everything's got enough heat.
I love that little torch.
Yeah, no, that's pretty handy. We use it
Yeah.
all the time. I remember years ago when we first got it, I felt it was revolutionary. Made a big difference in a lot of things. What we were trying to do at the time, anyway. So, yeah, there are lots
now it's
of
getting tricky in there to get
getting
that
tricky to get in
off.
there to get the shears in without, you know.
There we go.
Yeah, third one's on there. So yeah, now we're just kind of making sure the overall kind of balance of temperature is right, and that the shape is how we want it. And oh yeah, I'm making sure we're just using wood to not overly chill anything in the glass. And then
I'm just trying to get the shape that I like for for the feathers to look as if they've kind of drifted down and just attached themselves was my thinking.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks great.
And I love the idea of a single vessel form as well, but this was I just wanted to give you that feeling of movement and vertical drifting of leaves and so
perfect. Yeah, no, it's a good design, interesting idea, and yeah, I think it looks good. Lots of fun. Here we are getting ready to
put her away.
Yeah, take things off. Just heating up the jack line on the plug there a little bit, just so that it's moving just a little bit to give us an indication of temperature. And
make sure you remember where your pipe ends and where your
It's hard to tell when you're picking things up with all opaque glass, just to
right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
There she goes.
Yeah, and into the annealer. There we go.
There we go.